Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Victor Johnson. I'm with Goodwill Columbus, and today we have our Friday panel discussion. What are we talking about today? Job seeking skills. And in our panel today, we have Corey, Angie, and Marcy. If you would please introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what you do at Goodwill. And we'll start with Corey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Corey Westerfeld. I am a career consultant for Goodwill Columbus. I specifically work on the disability team. So the individuals that I serve have some form of disability, whether it's any kind of mental health, physical disability, learning disability, anything like that. That is the individuals that I help with. And what I do when I'm working with them is we look for a job. Once we are done looking for a job, we do interview training, we do resume building. Once they find employment, then I go and I do actual on-site job coaching with them to make sure that they are stable in their employment. Once they are stable, then we kind of find a stable date, a little bit. And then we close them from services. So that's basically what I do. So thank you.
Okay, great. Marcy?
Hi, my name is Marcy, and I am a career consultant also with Goodwill. I work specifically in workforce development on the careers and technology team. So part of my job is assisting clients with choosing an IT class to meet their needs and helping them through that class, helping them pace through the class, as well as soft skills like Corey talked about. So we talk about resume building, we talk about interview skills, we talk about proper job search techniques, things like that. And then at the end of those courses, when they receive their IT certifications for that course, and even before then, we look at job placement. So is what I do in a nutshell.
Great, thank you. Angie?
Hi, I'm Angie Hampton. I am a team lead for Fannie Mae Grant. My main part is I work with Nationwide Children's Hospital on helping people get placed over there who need employment, but I also work with healthcare, doing the STNA program, hospitality and lodging. And kind of like with Marcy, it's pretty much the same thing, help you with resume writing, mock interviewing skills, and help you find employment. And also sometimes it's also helping you find what education could also help you with the next best job to get you going, no matter where you get employed, because we follow along for like a year. So we also help you during the time of employment. If you want to, step up in your employment or find new employment. So we follow along with you too for a year after that.
Thank you. So once again, today we're talking about job seeking skills, and an easy way to think about seeking skills is everything that you do up until the point that you get hired. So your application, your resume, cover letters, interviewing, even your job search, all these things go into your job seeking skills. And so we're going to take a few questions, and I'm going to bring them up on the board here, if I can. All right. Okay, number one question. Where's the best place to look for a job?
I could take that one.
Okay.
Goodwill has a partnership with Indeed right now, and so many employers use that as a platform now. I think that is a great place to go for a variety of reasons. One, it just spans every single industry you can imagine on that website, but virtually on any website, virtually is probably, especially in the conditions that we're in right now, is the most effective and efficient way to go about, I think, jumping off on a job search. I don't think you can overlook the importance of the people you know as well, talking to connections, friends, neighbors, people that you associate with. I think that's a big key to let people know that you're in a job search. If they don't know, I think that's really important.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, and I think so too. You know, years ago, the job boards that Marcy was talking about, they were almost geared more towards the employer than they were towards the people that were looking for jobs. That's really flipped in the last probably 3 to 5 years, maybe, yeah, probably about the last 3 years. On Indeed and on ZipRecruiter, and I think even like Monster now or Career Builder too, you are able to build a profile, and then once you build that profile, especially on Indeed, like I said, and on Indeed and on ZipRecruiter, there is a way to apply to jobs very, very quickly, where you send your profile directly to the person who's recruiting for the job, rather than having to fill out an application that takes 20 minutes. They might ask you a couple screening questions, and then your profile gets sent to them with those questions. And that's a good way to apply to a lot of jobs very quickly. You know, it might take less than 5 minutes to apply to a job, where traditionally you would have to go to those websites, then go to, like, if it's a UPS job, then you'd have to go from Indeed to UPS to fill out the application. Yes. Well, now it's all streamlined. You just create your profile, and it goes right to a UPS recruiter, and they can contact you to follow up.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, we'll take the next question, and it is, how many resumes do I need?
You need one, but you need to make sure you continue to edit it to fit the job that you're applying for. So you will probably end up with quite a few if you do that. Because you're going to want those keywords for any job that you're applying for to help them pick it up when the recruiter's looking at it and stuff like that.
Okay. Marcy or Corey?
I think that's a great answer, Angie. I
agree. Yep, I totally agree.
I think a lot of people think they need a lot of different resumes. It's just important, I think, to have great bones in your resume, and that it's like very, very editable.
Yes.
You are going to change it for whatever the employer is looking for, and tweak it so that you show your best self.
Yep.
Yep, I agree.
And one of the best ways, as Angie mentioned, one of the best ways to edit your resume is to thoroughly read the job notice, so that you are seeing the language that they're using, the skills that they're looking for, and then you can use that same language in your resume, which helps them know that, you know, you're a person who would fit in with their company.
Yes.
So, what do I do if I don't have a resume?
Indeed.com. That's a good place to create a resume. You can go over there and type in all your information, and it will help you. Actually, it will give you a really nice resume once you're finished. So I would tell you to go on like Indeed.com and create your resume.
Excellent. Yeah, the partnership between Goodwill and Indeed.com gives job seekers a great treasure of resources that can help them with finding a job, preparing things, you know, writing your resume, writing your cover letter. It's really something that you want to look into, the Indeed and Goodwill partnership. So, what do I do on an application if I can't remember the address of one of the places I worked?
Google it.
Yeah, I was about to say, just
Google.
jump into Google and
Yeah.
type in the name of the company and then
Yep.
copy and paste over. That'd be the best way to do it.
Yes, it is.
So what's a good way to prepare for that? So you're not in that situation. Go ahead, Marcy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you know you're going to be applying for something, you should have that job history already prepared and written down so you can just transfer it from one to another. The same with other important information that you're not necessarily going to commit to memory. Depending on your job history, you should have it easily accessible already ahead of time so that it's just a simple matter of transferring it from one place to another, so there's not a big search or a big lag time to do that. So just be as prepared as possible if you know you're going into a job search. Many companies are looking for the same type of information, so just have that at the ready so that you're always prepared.
Okay.
Right. And I think what it boils down to, what we're all kind of saying, is that it's imperative to have a master resume.
Yes.
Of all of your experience, all your addresses,
Yes.
5 to 7 bullet points of what you did in that job, where you can tailor your experience to of your previous employment to your new job that you're applying for. Having it on like a cloud server, like a Google Drive or iCloud or something that's easily accessible from any computer. Basically, you take your resume and all of your experience with you wherever you go with one of these.
Yes.
So if you are applying in person somewhere, you won't have to, fiddle with 5 different pages of paper. And then if it's raining and there's still coffee on it or something, having it digitally saved on a cloud server is the best thing to do.
Yes.
I am so glad you said that because, I'm an older, or excuse me, a more seasoned person. And, when I thought about it, I was thinking, okay, I'll have everything written down and then I'll keep it in my wallet. But then, just like you said, I carry my cell phone with me everywhere.
Yes.
And using if a person has a Gmail address, then they have access to all the Google apps, and so they can use Google Docs, and they can put their information in Google Docs, and once it's in their drive, then it's there forever until they decide to take it out. So it is really, I'm glad you said that. Putting stuff digitally, so you can keep it in, like the cloud, whether it's the cloud or whether it's your Google Drive, you've always got it no matter where you are,
Yes.
if you've got your phone.
Yes.
Or you're close to a computer.
Or you're close to a computer, yeah.
Okay. When should I get references?
You should have those. You should have those ready. You don't want to wait to try to finagle that and get that. You want to have those ready. That's something you really should be thinking about. And if you use someone as a reference, you need to let them know too that you're going to use them, so they have a heads up that someone may be calling them, because if not, they may not know the phone number, they may not answer. So that's something you should really be prepared for. Just like with the resume, you should have it ready.
Yep, I agree with Angie.
Yeah, one of the things I used to tell students at Ohio State was, when you're looking for a job, that's, as soon as you're going to look for one, you need to contact your references. Let them know that you're going to be looking, and even set up a time frame. Say, may I use you as a reference for the next 4 months? That way, at least you don't have to keep finding new references.
Yes.
And the other thing, just like Angie said, please, please, please don't use someone as a reference unless you get their permission. The worst thing in the world is, someone calls a reference and they say, who said what? What are you talking about? And then, that's probably going to lose you the job right there. But yeah, thank you, Angie. Contact your references.
Yes.
And, the same thing, put it on a Google Doc, Keep it in the cloud.
Right. And what I've seen with trending recently is individuals like when people like when you put in an application, most of the time they're not just going to immediately contact your references. I don't say that very often anymore. So most of the time you're going to know when they're going to be contacting them. So just, if you're going through the interview process, if you have a sit down face-to-face or now a virtual interview with someone, that would be the time once you're done with that interview to let your references know, like, hey, I'm going through the interview process. There's a good chance you might be contacted in the next week or so. It's just good to remind them, hey, I'm going through this, and you might get a phone call. So that way they do know that someone is going to call in to pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's also good to ask your reference, hey, if they do contact you, will you let me know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when they start contacting references, then you're really in consideration for the job.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, keeping on the reference topic, can I use my friends for references?
Can you or should you?
Should you?
You probably should not, unless you've probably really worked with them or they were a supervisor or something. Unless that's the case, I would say keep friends out of it. It needs to really be professional because they won't be able to answer the questions that are probably asked, and that's a good chance of you losing that job if they can't answer the questions that need to be, or if they can't answer the questions.
Right.
Right, and I think so too. If work experience is limited, they do. Some places will require 3 or 4 references. I would still agree with Angie that you definitely don't want to use them unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But if you do have limited work experience, like you just got out of high school, it might be a friend that you volunteered with at a food bank or something that they can still share your work experience with the person that's calling. So that's kind of what I would add to it. Just that little asterisk almost.
Let's see the next. Probably. When an application says, may we contact your former employer, what should I say?
I can take that one.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think if you say no, it throws up some sort of a flag to the potential future employer. So you should always say, yes, please contact my former employer. And keep in mind that there are only certain pieces of information that your former employer is allowed to reveal about you. So I think you have to be very knowledgeable about that. They can reveal the dates that you worked there, just very surface information about you. So don't be afraid to put, yes, you can contact the former employer. I think if you put it the other way, unless there is a specific reason the company is out of business or a legitimate reason that they cannot, I think if you put no, it's going to throw up a flag.
Yeah, and most of the time in applications, it will either, like, if it says no, they will want to know why. So, and that's a good time to say, like, company went out of business.
Yes.
So, yes. I agree with you, Marcy.
I think this is one of those teachable moments too, even if you're not enjoying your job or you're not getting along with your supervisor or coworkers, the way you leave your job may determine how they talk about you to another employer. So even if you do not like your job, when you're leaving, give a 2 weeks notice.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Not show up.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you don't enjoy the job, give a 2 weeks notice, and even, say that I'd be happy to train the person who takes my place.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. Yep.
So that's our next question. is, there we go. When an application's, oh, it doubled up. I'm sorry about that.
No, the end of that question says if I was fired.
Fired. Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. When an application says, may we contact your former employer, what should I say if I was fired?
Well, I know what we do sometimes. I know if someone feels like they've left bad and the situation was bad, I will personally contact the employer to see what information they give to whether this person will use them as a reference, because that can be really, really important, because if it's going to be bad, you might not want to have them contact these guys. So we do, I know personally, I do that whenever there's been a bad experience in the workplace. You can even have a friend do that, honestly, contact the employer to see and just ask a few questions, you know, about that, because that's really important to know,
Right.
how you left that employer.
And also too, like if your work experience is in like a retail store where you have multiple different department supervisors,
Yes.
have a different experience working with you than maybe the reason why there was termination.
Yes.
So just because your reference might be someone that you worked with previously from a company that you were terminated from, but that individual is a department manager who you worked well with, and they would give you a positive resume or
Yes.
So if you're able to give a telephone number that would connect you with someone who would give you a good reference for a previous employer, even if you were fired, most definitely say yes.
Yes.
I think one of the other things is to remember, if you do get to the interview stage, remember that the person that you're talking to is also a human being, and they have been through some things. And there are a lot of people who have been fired from their jobs. And this is where the power of language comes in.
Yes.
Fired is one of those words. It's one of those reactionary words where it's the strongest word in the sentence. So that's when you key on. So you change the sentence. And usually in most situations, when someone's fired, it's because, what you could say is, where I was working, my supervisor and I did not agree on how the job should be done. And it became a hostile situation. And the thing was, I knew I wasn't going to progress at that job, and I knew I wasn't going to advance. And, my supervisor wasn't going to advance me, and they let me go. Now, I think if you're sitting across from someone and tell them that is more information that helps them make a decision than just saying, I was fired.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to. Yes.
Use the power of language.
And that's another good thing right there, a teachable thing that you mentioned, Victor, is to talk to someone about that. So when you're talking to someone about being fired, you'll want to go through that, because you're going to want to watch your language. You're going to want to make sure you don't show anything that could be hostile towards someone or anything like that, because you've moved past the experience. You've moved past and you've grown and you've moved on. So talk to someone about that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something, just to key on something that Angie said or was kind of alluding to, that is a great interview question to practice the answer to ahead of time. I think that's kind of what Angie was saying.
Definitely.
Yes.
That is an interview question. Practice that answer ahead of time.
You should.
Yeah. So very important.
Absolutely. And everybody out there, practicing before your interview is a must. Practice makes perfect.
Yes.
So, let's see. So our last question is on the screen, but I can't get to it. And now I can. If I get an interview, How should I dress?
Professional. Yeah.
I think doing some research on the company,
Yes.
see what their culture might be. A lot of companies now are experiencing a change in culture where things are a little more casual in the workplace. So I think going in ahead of time, knowing that, I would still dress a step above
Mhm.
what you think the culture may be, because you're not an employee yet.
Mhm.
So I think the most important thing too about your dress is that your clothes fit.
Mhm.
Your clothes are clean, they're pressed. You know, if we don't have the opportunity or the wherewithal to go out and buy, new interview clothes, something like that, you have to present yourself just in the best light with the best that you have, but well-fitting, well-pressed clothes that just make you look put together and to show a respectful air to the person who's going to be interviewing you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the interview, you are presenting yourself and all of the reasons why, why a potential employer should hire you, and you don't want to give them a reason why they shouldn't hire you.
Yeah.
So you want to, whether it's with your presentation of like your dress, making sure that you can never overdress for an interview. You can definitely underdress for an interview. I have seen it in previous work experiences. But you want to present yourself. Everything has to be about why they should hire you.
Yes.
Come in with your resume printed off. They can have a copy too. When you're answering your resume or when you're answering your interview questions, make sure those answers are always positive. These things about, when you walk out the door, the person sitting across from you needs to say, "Oh my gosh, I got to get back in here because we got to find it right away." And being cognizant of what you are wearing goes along with all of that.
Oh yeah.
Marcy, you're definitely correct on that.
So along those same lines, what do you think about cologne and perfume at an interview?
I would say minimal to none.
Absolutely. I would say, yeah, I would say the same as Marcy. Probably none if you can get away with it. Yeah. Because you don't know the other person across. If maybe they have a strong sense of smell and that could just be overpowering. So you don't want to do that. Yeah.
And along the same lines again, how about jewelry? I give that to Marcy and Angie because I don't think Corey and I wear a lot
The only
of
jewelry I have, guys, in my wedding, so I got nothing. I'm out.
I'm okay with jewelry. I don't think you want to overdo it. I mean, I don't think you want to go overdo it. But like, look at Marcy's necklace and earrings. I'm not as big on jewelry, but I think that looks nice. Yes, I'm okay with jewelry. I don't think you want to, just overpower it to where that's all you see. But nice necklace, earrings. Yeah, that's nice.
I probably wouldn't wear this necklace in an interview, quite frankly. I think it's a little bold. I tend to dress more conservatively. I do want to address the normal trend right now of some different types of piercings. I think that might be a good thing. Depending on the research you do on the company, you may want to remove some atypical piercings before going into an interview, because people who are not used to seeing them, it can be distracting and it might take their focus away from what you're saying. And and you can find out in the interview, I think it's a very valid question. I have this type of visible facial piercing. Is that acceptable in the work environment here? Because something we talked about is culture in the work environment, and you want to know what the rules are and are you going to be comfortable there. And if you have a certain piercing that's visible that the workplace doesn't allow, if that's not okay with you, that's probably not a place you want to work. So as it applies to jewelry, any type of visible piercing that may be a little ear or stray a little bit from really typical, I would probably remove that for an interview.
Okay. Thank you. I hadn't even thought of that. Thank you very much. Great insight. So we are at the end of our session. We could probably go on for another 30 minutes about job seeking skills because there's so much to cover. But I would like to thank our guests this morning, Corey and Marcy and Angie. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. If you are looking for information about what we can do for you at Goodwill, at the bottom of the screen, there's an email address that you can go to, or excuse me, a website that you can go to, and you can get more information about the services that we provide. So once again, thank you to our panel guests. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next Friday for another panel interview. Bye-bye.
Bye.